Right. Hiya, Craig. Good morning.
One.
Thanks for joining us today. We've known each other quite a while now, and I was trying to work out how many years. It's got to be at least 12 to 15 years.
I've been here 7. Yeah, I'd say about 15 years.
It feels
It's gotta
longer.
be a bit different.
No, it does
Thanks.
genuinely, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Because no. You know, when you sort of meet people, don't you? You know what I'm talking about. You meet people in your
Yeah.
life where you think, I've known this guy all my life, and then you've only ever met him once, but
Yeah.
it had such an
Yeah.
impact on you. You think, I just
Yeah.
feel like I've known you. So
All the time.
we sort of met each other through self-protection. I know that's an area you've moved out of now, and to a certain
Yeah.
extent, I think I have as well,
Yeah.
because of various reasons. Personalities, egos, the same as the martial arts everywhere. It's fueled by egos. I can say that. But it became quickly apparent that, to me anyway, that you were more interested in the more psychological aspects of things, because I used to spend a lot of time, and I don't know whether this influenced you at all, but I used to spend a hell of a lot of time talking about the psychology of violence and techniques to build confidence and to deal with fear and to build high levels of awareness. I don't know whether that was what got you started or whether you were already looking at that.
No, it was funny. It's funny you should say that, because it was one of your kind of seminars that you were putting out at the time, and from memory, it was about, ironically, it was about being kind of switched on and being able to step into a state that is needed
Right.
at a given time. So essentially, I think you were going through building up the state, being able to anchor it, and then being able to have it at a given point, which to
Yeah.
me was, I'd never heard of it. You were either timid, placid, into not violence but self-protection, or not. I'd never heard of being able to, build that state in
Yeah.
for it to be usable. So when I fell out of the circle that we were in, I was already starting to delve into NLP with Richard Bandler with his books, and then from there on, it snowballed. I essentially, as you know, I mean, you were the one who got me qualified in NLP, and I trained with you. But by the time I trained with you, I'd already been studying it for a year or two previously. But it was all the psychology of what can we actually do, and then that obviously led into other things.
Yeah. Well, that's what I noticed. Because when I used to do those lectures, seminar type things, I knew while I was doing it that it was falling on a lot of deaf ears, because a lot of people in that type of community just wanted to hit things. You know what I mean? They didn't understand that if you have the correct mental state and you're in control of your environment, you probably won't have to have a fight, which is why I called it self-protection. It was about protecting yourself against any eventuality. And when I hooked up with you to go into more detail about the NLP, what struck me was how much you already knew. Because I think I remember saying to you, I remember coming down to your house and sort of saying, really, I should just give you a piece of paper now. but nevertheless, we battled on, because there were areas that you said yourself. You said, "Oh, there's a couple of areas that I'm really not sure about," because you didn't have the opportunity, I guess, to train with Bandler himself. And I think you know yourself from working with high flyers, people who really do know what they're doing, not their minions, not their acolytes or their disciples, the people who really know their shit. I was able to give you, I hope, a bit of insight into how Bandler thought, because for me, you had the same sort of, you had, I'm blowing smoke up each other's asses here, but it's, you had the same attitude as me towards not just NLP, but it was Bandler said to me, NLP is an attitude of curiosity, as you know, da-di-da lives behind a trail of techniques. And that for me was like a major thing. And I think still to this day, as you would agree, a lot of people in the NLP self-help, whatever you want to call it, movement, because that's what it is now. It's like an evangelical movement. Miss the fact that Bandler said, where's your attitude? It's all about attitude. That's all it is. Just be curious. Why do these things happen? How do they happen? How do I do that? he can do it.
Yeah.
How the hell can I do that? And
Yeah.
and you sort of hooked onto that in a big way, which is pretty rare. And as you would agree, because the number of conversations you've had with people about NLP, hypnosis, mentalism, memory techniques, they're all looking for like this thing that you do. Oh, just teach me to do that. I'll be able to do it. No, you won't.
Yeah.
You won't.
Yeah.
It's a bit
Yeah.
deeper than that.
I think.
So
I think that's.
how are you a curious person?
No. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I constantly say to people I coach or friends of mine, I joke about it, but I'm also serious in the fact that I'm wired slightly differently. Excuse me. To others, in the fact that just having something is not good enough. Which is why after the NLP, obviously I started to see Richard Bandler do hypnosis inductions. Oh, hypnosis! But I grew up like most people watching Paul McKenna on stage, and this. Oh, that looks interesting. So I went out, bought the books, and essentially taught myself that. But I went so far down a rabbit hole that in 2 years, that was all I'd done. From the moment I got up, dropped the kids off at school, come home, read it, study it, watch courses, practice it, obviously go out in the real world, and basically see what it was about. All this stuff where people say, you can't do this with this. Really? Why not? And I'd go and test it, and I'd go and see for myself, because otherwise it's your word against mine. And I remember the geek that I am clocking up the hours that I put in over 2 years, and it totaled 8,723 hours in 2 years. And if anybody wants to do the maths on this, you won't, trust me. But if you go out, that's a minimum of 8 hours a day, every single day, up to 17, 18 hours a day, every day solid for 2 years, including Christmas Day, New Year's Day, Boxing Day, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got to a point where something clicked and it went, hold on. It's not the induction. It's not the technique. It's not a protocol. It's not, I do this and you do that. It's about the communication. Yeah. That was, hold on, there's a pattern here. So when I started to play around with that, I got into social engineering. I got into conditioning, Pavlov, B.F. Skinner, the work of Milgram, all that sort of stuff, incorporated that and had a look. And all of a sudden, this is the human condition. Everybody has a pattern of behavior. Okay, fine. And then from then on, you can get rid of all the techniques and everything, as long as you know how to communicate with the person and be able to help them move in a different direction.
Yeah.
So it's never, ever good enough for me to just do one thing. I want to know how, why, where, when. If that didn't work, why not? How can I adjust this? So it's curiosity is kind of what fuels me, because I always know I can be better, and so can other people.
Yeah. So you see, this is the thing you were talking about, the amount of hours you put in, and this is why it looks easy, and this is why you'll find it as well. These, especially these internet hypnotists, these experts who tell you they can cure COVID-19, and they've literally picked up a book, or they've gone on a 7-day practitioner course, and now they're experts in the worst sense of the word. And they think because we make it look easy that it's easy, and it's not easy. It takes graft, it takes work, like any skill set.
I think that's one of the things.
I think when people, sorry to interrupt, but when people see you work, they think, oh well, it's easy that if Craig can do it, I can do it. Yeah, you will, but you have to put the time in. Yeah, and people are not prepared to work.
A lot of people think, oh, if I do X, then Y follows. Sometimes X jumps back to B, and B buggers off to Z, and Z sometimes sits there and says, well, I don't care, I want to be a number.
Yeah, and sometimes you're so busy with X, you forget about Y. Y buggers off.
Yeah, that's half the thing. It's like, oh well, I've got a phobia client coming in, and I had this about 5-6 months ago, and it was on the forums, and this hypnotist, I can't remember the name, but they said, oh well, I've had a client come in for 7 sessions for a phobia.
What?
Yeah. And I sat there and said, well, 7 sessions, question mark. Like, why? Oh, because they don't seem to be responding to what I says, are you running the fast phobia cure? I says, yeah. I says, right, okay. And you've double disassociated all the usual stuff you do in NLP. Yeah, I've done all that. Okay. I said, black and white, or yeah, I've done it. Right. So you've ran it to the letter. Yep. Okay. Have you ever had it fail like this before? Yeah. Says, I can tell you right now what the issue is. It's not a phobia. It's anticipatory anxiety. They're imagining it having happened to them, but it's never actually happened.
Yeah.
So a phobia cure won't work. You're working with basic anxiety. And I know that term ticks a lot of people off because anybody suffering with anxiety, oh, well, it's not basic. But what we mean is it goes in gradients. So you'll have anything from it being a bit mild over maybe doing an interview.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm sure.
Or if you're a bit kind of like a bit of a show off, hello. Or you sit there and, it goes in degrees and you'll have chronic anxiety, you'll get panic attacks, you'll get to the point that can lead to agoraphobia and you don't want to go out, social phobia, you're not meeting people. So just your day to day, it's fine to be nervous of an interview or whatever. But this person hadn't twigged. They didn't know because they'd never delved into it. They'd never looked to the source of it. But they took their client's word for it.
Oh, yeah.
I have a phobia. And they've went, great, pay me the money.
Yeah.
But a good friend, my good friend Ben Cardle, and myself, and my other friend Liam, who's a coach over in Ireland, Liam O'Neill.
Ben's the deductionist. Just hopefully we'll get him on. Hopefully we'll get him on the podcast at some point.
Oh yeah, rocking the T-shirt that I had to earn.
I am a deductionist.
It's great fun. But it's a bugbear that we've had. Because we've been working on our memory the last month or so. Ben's been doing it for years, but we're constantly getting messages recently of what's the shortcut for this? How can I do this quicker? How can you just show me a bit of this so then I can go and do it? Yeah. And they get really offended when we say you've got to put the work in. So I make it look easy, but when I coach anybody, I can't show or tell them how I specifically see the patterns that I see, because part of it's ingrained and the part of it is obviously experience and everything else.
Yeah.
But I help them unlock how they think to be able to question more and then find the path. And it's a bugbear that everybody wants a shortcut. They want a magic pill. Yeah. They want the easy thing, because if you can be trained to be a therapist in 10 days, you make loads of money.
Oh yeah.
But you're also going to screw people up. And I've worked on one PTSD case that proves that I got a Skype call, at 9:00 at night from somebody who got a certificate off the internet.
Yeah. So
it was go out, fill your questionnaire in. You got all the answers right, because obviously you just tick a box and you get a certificate. Congratulations, you're a therapist. Happy days. Rock on. And they took a client and they thought it was a phobia. Okay, fine. Not an issue. And the phone call came in at 9:00 at night saying they've got the client on another call, completely freaking out, in tears, crying. They don't want to talk. They're having panic attacks. They're fidgeting. They're not listening. I says, congratulations, you've got your first PTSD case.
Yeah.
Oh crap, what do I do? So I've now got to try and talk the therapist through what I'd be doing. So they're feeding me third-party information.
Yeah, which is never good.
It took me about an hour and a half to be able to get this person back to a clean slate.
Yeah.
And be able to, and they were like, holy crap, you've done that third person. I could never do, but I can only do that because of the work, the experience and the knowledge I've got.
Exactly.
It's don't, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but don't piss around with something, especially people's mental health, when you have no idea what you're doing.
Well, this is the danger, you see, because as you know, a lot of these certifications are just literally given willy-nilly. So, and I'll probably get into trouble for saying this, but you turn up at a hotel, because I've facilitated on these things back in the early 2000s. You turn up at a hotel in London, there's 600 people on it, and at the end of 7 days, you're certified. You've got
guaranteed 600 therapists.
And the real problem, well, there's a massive danger in that, obviously, because you're probably lucky if one or two of those people will be any good at what they've done. And it's probably because they've done something before. They're a highly skilled therapist anyway from another field. Or they're very, very bright and they assimilate the information quickly, which is pretty rare. When I used to run mine, we'd have no more than 10 people on the course. And I can guarantee that a couple of them would have to have words with. I would speak to them afterwards and say, look, guys, you're not ready. You genuinely aren't ready. And I used to say to the guys, you know, you want to start with dead simple things first, just like stopping smoking, biting nail habits, things like that. Don't go into depression, eating disorders. Well, you do all that. Yeah, but I saw bog standard clients for nearly 2 years where I just worked with normal, straightforward behavioral things and built my skill set up, and then dipped my toe in the water with an eating disorder, which was just a bit, yeah. But I think you'd agree, right? You're the same. I think cut from the same cloth. In that you won't just do it willy-nilly. You'll think about it before you do it. Think about the consequences if this goes wrong, and you make sure that you're covering all your bases. You have all-round awareness of the whole situation. And I met this particular client with her therapist, and it's a long story, and I won't go into it because it's not about me. This is really talking about you, but it's just to highlight to anybody listening that, you know, don't think because you've got an NLP prac certificate, you're off ready to go and do PTSD, eating disorders, and God knows what else. Because as you've said, Craig, you could be taking people down a rabbit hole of their own, and you won't be able to get them out because you don't have the skill. So it's about building up gradually, but you have to put the work in. You know, 8 hours a day, and
it goes without saying to any therapist, and I do it. I mean, I get referrals from, you know, all sorts of people, and you get to a level, and they throw around different terms and stuff within all the therapist communities. And you know, I got to one where they say, oh, well, you know, Craig's one of our leading peers, and I look and go, well, you know, I appreciate the sentiment. I do, because I've worked damn hard to get to that level. But at the end of the day, I can always be better. So I'm always studying, I'm always practicing. But I'm also not so egotistical, although I do have a big ego. It's the fact that I've never really dealt with this before. It's a bit more complex. I could go in and have a look and start to resolve, but hold on, that guy's an expert in it. He's done it for 25 years. And then I will contact, you know, one of my people on my friends list who do this for a living. And I'll, you know, not palm them off, but I will direct them to somebody who is better equipped in that niche. But then I'll go back to them and go, right, this client that I referred to you, obviously you can't give me the details of what happened, but do you think I'd have been capable with the skill set that you know I've got to deal with it? If I get a no, right, within that, what do I need to improve on?
What do I need to do?
What do I need to look at? Do I need to come and train with you? Do I need to come and sit in with clients with you? What do I need to do so I've got that for the next time? And a lot of people won't do that.
No, of course they won't, because I think people get their qualification, the certificate, and believe they're now, as I say, experts. I mean, Bandler talks about expert. X is an unknown quantity, and a spurt is a drip under pressure. And it sums it up. It really sums it up. And it's funny because Bandler on the master prac, when I did that, it was the trainer. I can't remember one of the courses. We were chatting because it was only, so it must have been the trainer. So there's maybe 30 of us. It was a really small course, which is unusual. So you had access to Richard every day, basically, from morning till night, because we're all staying in the same hotel. And he said to me, he said, the thing is, Bob, you've got to become a shark. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, a hypnosis shark. I won't use the language he was using, but the expletives. An F and a hypnosis shark. And he said, what you do is you go out every day and you hypnotize every MF that's out there. He said, and know when you're doing it. He said, because most people, and you've heard this before, but for people who are listening, you know, most people are in trance most of the time. Our job is to get them out of that particular trance and take them in a direction and put them in a trance that's useful for them.
I mean, everybody thinks with that because you've got hypnosis, you put them into this magically deep state where they instantly follow every suggestion. It's like, you do realize that they're not dead, you know. And
Yeah.
I went on a training course. I was about 2 years in, and I remember somebody saying to me, look, in order to be able to see clients, you need to do a course to be able to get a certificate in order to be able to get insurance.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So I picked a course, and when I stayed in Manchester, I think it was for a week, and we went up. And bearing in mind, I've been doing inductions, I've been seeing clients, I've been doing demonstrations, I've been volunteering at like work groups and helping people stop smoking and all this sort of stuff. And they were saying, right, we're going to come to the inductions part. And I'm going, oh, great. I love this. And I'm waiting to go, sleep. It's your script. My what? Your script.
Oh, yeah.
One of those. And they were like, well, yeah, but if you, bloody guided relaxation.
Yeah.
So this is what you're going to do is you are going to work on real problems, but each person in the room is going to raise their hand, and we're going to start with phobias. Does anybody have a phobia? So I picked the guy in the corner and I went, where's yours on the scale of 1 to 10? And the guy went, it's a 3. No, I don't want you. Anybody else higher than a 3? This guy hand up, and he had a fear of deep water.
Oh, right. Okay.
I says, right. I says, I'll take you. Went in the other room. She says, right, you've got an hour to work with a phobia. So, okay, fair enough. Went in. She says, we're going to do this a little bit differently. I'm not going to read to you. And I've done a rapid induction, and then ran through the fast phobia cure, done a bit of ego strengthening, all this sort of stuff, future paced it. Happy days, open your eyes, how'd you feel? Oh, bloody hell, I feel great. Went back into the other room, and the trainer walked through. She says, oh, when you started? So, we're done. No, you can't be. Oh, we are. And the guy sat there and said, no, he says, I feel great. And she was like, well, if I was to go and tell you to get a pair of swimming trunks now and go down to the local baths, which is like, half a mile down the road. And he was like, yeah, he says, I'll take my daughter down there, not a problem. But I looked and I went, you didn't even check with him to see if he could swim, but it was the first question I asked him. Well, yeah, but that goes without saying.
This is assumptions, making assumptions about clients.
He's afraid of deep water, so he could have fell in as a child. And she was like, well, no, it goes without saying. No. But we worked on it, and then she come round and she says, we've got another class this afternoon, and we're going to be doing inductions, like in and out of trance, in and out, in. And this woman come down the stairs, and she says, hello, is anybody in the other room? And we were like, yeah. She went, right, I've just brought my subject out of hypnosis. I've got him to open his eyes and come completely out. And I was like, right. She went, because I forgot what to ask him next. Pardon? I forgot to ask. She went, right, I'm going to go back up and hypnotize him. So she says, I'll say it again. And I was in hysterics. And she turned around and she went, 4 times so far, he's been in and out when I've asked him a question. She says, I've put him in, I've asked him a question, I brought him out, how did it feel? Put him in, asked him a question, right, how did it feel? And I kind of like raised my hand and I went, I can't remember her name now because it was about 10 years ago. And she turned around and she says, see these things on the side of your head? She went, yeah. I said, what are they? She went, well, they're ears. I said, if you've got your eyes closed, do these not work? And she was like, yeah. I says, well, if he's quite happy and relaxed, chilling in hypnosis or whatever you're classing it as, just ask him the question. He'll still reply.
Yeah.
Oh, I can do that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's the myths and mythologies of bloody of hypnosis.
It'd be funny if it wasn't so scary. With
I know, because people. I mean, there's a guy who came on one of my NLP courses, and he said to me, because I demonstrate cataleptic hand and things like that, I'll drag somebody out of the group, do cataleptic hand, get it stuck on their forehead, the normal stuff. It's sure stuff, isn't it? It has an impact, right? It's great for training, and it does have a function as well. And I did Lee Morrison. He was gone. Good old Lee Morrison, the self-protection guy. I hope he hears this. But he did love it, and actually, he's not a bad guy. He's actually run with it, and I know continues to still use state change with his guys. Quite deep. He's gone into a lot of detail. Yeah. Did the NLP prac course with me and so on. This guy said on the course, he said, so I always have trouble getting people to close their eyes. And I said, you always have trouble getting people to close their eyes. What, when they're in hypnosis now? And he says, yeah. I said, what, when they're in hypnosis now? Shut your eyes. And I went, there you go. That's how easy it is. And he went, what? I said, you've just closed your eyes. Just tell them to close their eyes. He went, no, you have to do. No, you don't. What do you mean you have to? Just tell them to close. You've already, if they do as you tell them, you've hypnotized them. You've already suggested something and they're following your suggestion. They make it so complicated. It's like
we've said, everybody hangs up hangs their cape on the word sleep.
Yes, I know.
And it's like I say to everybody, it's like, look, you're not going to go into any mystical, magical place, nothing.
No.
Says all it is, right? I says, if you close your eyes, it makes it a lot easier for you to imagine what I'm asking you. That's right. And they're like, what? I says, well, try imagining it when your eyes are open. You can do it. You get distractions.
Yeah.
Just close them down. It's a bit more peaceful. You can see it a bit better. And they're like, just wait to imagine doing X, Y. Oh, right. And as we say, it's like if you're sat there and you're giving the suggestion to sleep, if you don't, that's literally just another suggestion because they're already following and they're willing to engage.
Yeah.
It's not magical. It's not mystical. You are hijacking their natural emotional states. And if they're willing to follow you anyway, the rest of it's all imagination.
This thing, just going back to this thing about scripts, because it really winds me up, because virtually, I'm not going to generalize, but most people I know who've been on hypnosis courses will come back with a book full of scripts. And they continue to sell these things. Yeah, they're incredible. And you've read them, and you know what I'm going to say about them. They're disjointed, they're dysfunctional. They might apply to the person you've got in front of them. So what would you say? I know the answer. You know I know the answer. But what's more important than learning the script? How do you get your cues to create your induction? How do you do it?
Right, there's two things that I do. Firstly, I've kind of done away with inductions now.
Right.
Unless I'm doing a demonstration with somebody.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like you said, you know, it can serve a purpose in therapy, but also as a visual cue for anybody else that's potentially watching. It's always good fun. I tell people if they're just going by a script, and I know this isn't going to be applicable to everybody, but there's a hell of a lot behind what I've done that leads into sitting in front of a client. Yeah. So I will be watching their breathing rate. I'll be watching, are they shifting around in the chair? Is the chair comfortable enough for them? Has their blinking rate slowed down? Has it sped up? Have their pupils dilated? Is their mouth dry? Are their palms sweaty? All this sort of body language and everything else, non-verbals as we call them.
Yeah.
And then I can take that in the dark. I just now see that because it's there. Scripts are okay, and I'm going to kick myself for saying this.
Go on.
If you have no patter, if you do not know how to be,
you can't improvise.
Yeah. If you can't speak eloquently, but
or if you haven't listened to the client, or as you said quite rightly, picked up the non-verbal cues.
Yeah, a lot of people do say, "Well, my client keeps saying to me, I just really wish that I wasn't carrying all this crap around. I mean, I'm carrying it around all the time, and I really wish that I could just drop it. I just put, and I just look at them and go."
Go on.
How much does it weigh?
Yeah, what is it?
How much does it weigh? I've never really thought. Well, I have to think about it now. How much does it weigh? Because if you're carrying it, I mean, so you're standing like this, so it's clearly on your back. So
clearly on your back.
And they're like,
"Oh yeah,
yeah." I said, "Well, is it yours?" Well, I don't think so. So well, you wouldn't go shopping for somebody else and be carrying their crap around. So why are you? Oh, so just shrug your shoulders and imagine just running. Yeah.
You'd love this. I had one client who she actually said this. She said, "Well," I said, "So when you say you're carrying this burden," I said, "What does it feel like? A heavy coat?" She went, "Yes, heavy coat. It's like a wet donkey jacket." And I said, "That's one of those thick woolen coats." She said, "Yeah." I said, "And it's soaked in water." She goes, "Oh, it is as well." And I said, can you feel it dripping off you? She goes, I
Oh,
can, and it makes me feel under the weather. Right? I was like, brilliant.
but, I mean, you take it from that. The one thing I do say is forget your techniques.
Yeah.
I mean, you've spent all this money, fair play. If you genuinely want to do good with somebody, then invest in yourself, the aspect of how people function day to day,
Yeah.
why they do what they do, the patterns of behavior, learn about language, learn about the specificity of words. I, me, self, and you, and all this sort of stuff. And they said, well, I tell myself. So now I'm talking to bloody 3 or 4 of you.
Yeah.
And Andrew Austin, another one of my leading peers.
I love his stuff. In fact, my computer is actually resting on his book, The Rainbow Machine.
Brilliant book, brilliant book.
It is.
I've got a couple of copies of that, and for an NLP book, it will teach you no NLP techniques.
No, absolutely not.
It will teach you all you need to know about NLP.
It's all about attitude, isn't it? It's all about attitude. Yeah. I remember reading it and thought, a breath of fresh air, because all of the other books are just technical manuals, essentially.
It never works out. My tip is, if you need to start with scripts to be able to learn to get your words fluid, your passive fluid. One, realize that that's potentially coming from your own self-confidence. Have you get confidence in what you're doing? If you need to stand in front of a mirror and just reel something off, do it. If you need to do an induction, make sure it's fluid.
But that comes back to what you said earlier on, which was you essentially, you've got to work on yourself. You've got to go first. You've got to go first. Have you heard of, here's a one, because Andrew Austin, brilliant. But I'd read a book which came out years before that, years and years and years. And I've probably got it on my shelf down at the bottom there. Yeah, I have. And I'm just going to see if I've got it. Yeah. Now, this book goes back a long while. It's called Provocative Therapy by Frank Farrelly. Yeah. Now, he was one of the first and Bandler used to talk about him. So because Bandler used to talk about him so much in the early days, I just thought, I've got to read this guy and find out, because he's obviously had a major impact on Bandler's approach to working with clients. And he started off as a normal, your traditional psychiatric nurse type psychotherapist. And by a series of mistakes, he found that he was changing clients, because he would get exasperated with a client, go, well, just F off, and they would change. He's like,
Frank's work's kind of brilliant. And I know a gentleman by the name of Nick Kemp, another
I know that name.
Yeah, Nick's a brilliant trainer, and he does a lot of provocative work. And I started looking into it, and I had one client, and I was trying everything. I turned around and I went, do you know what? Yeah, you're right. You are a loser. And they were just like, what? Well, you've been saying it to yourself all the time. I mean, how many people actually admit it to you? How many have got the balls to say it to your face? I think you're a loser. I mean, look here. Look at the way you're dressed. You can't be asked to present yourself properly. You're slouching your chair. You don't care about the words you're saying. Quite. And he got to the point where he just turned around and went, nobody tells me I'm a loser. And I went, but you are. No, I'm not a loser. I've just had some issues. Blah, 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 blah. And it was like, holy crap. You don't have to be in people's face, but you can help push their buttons to the point where is that really their belief, or is it somebody else's that they've taken on? Yeah.
And the reason you did that links in with what you said before. You have to have confidence. You know,
it's
if at any moment if at any moment, it's like self-protection, isn't it? If at any moment you show weakness as a chink in the armor, it won't work. It just won't work. This is why
I've blatantly turned around to clients, and other therapists have said I shouldn't do it, and they went, "Can you help me?" And I've went, "Don't know." And what do you mean you don't know? I've seen people like you with the same issue before.
Yeah.
Everybody has the same patterns of behavior, but leading up to where you are, everybody's got a different experience or, map of the world.
Yeah.
The map is not the territory, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
But I blatantly just turn around to them just to build rapport and say, look, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But if you come and you book in, you come and see me, you know, we'll start working through it. And it may be one session, it may be 3.
Yeah.
But I guarantee I can tell you within 10 minutes into the session whether we can help you get to where you need to be. And I've not had one person turn around and say, no, thanks.
Yeah.
Not one. Because
it's about that honesty, isn't it? It's that honesty of like, because you don't know whether you can help them until you've spoken to them. And once you've had that conversation, you know that you've built rapport or not. Once that rapport is built, there's trust. And I'm going to go so far as to say you can literally do any bloody intervention sometimes, providing the client trusts you.
Yeah,
I really have done that with people.
You can use, I mean, I've played around with it. And again, you know, going back to the curiosity, you know, EFT, TFT, you know, and all this sort of stuff, you know, tapping the meridians in a certain process, and, you know, humming a tune, rolling your eyeballs. Yeah. And I sat there, I bought the books. I thought I'll have a look, had a look at the courses. Right. So I need to tap here, tap here, tap here, tap here, roll my eyes, hum happy birthday, tap again. Okay. And then I've done it with somebody that I knew that was a friend of mine. I knew they had not a chronic issue, but just something a bit trivial. So I want you to try something. So I want you to start tapping your foot on the floor. At the same time you're tapping your foot on the floor, take the opposite hand and start tapping yourself on the side of the head. Hum your favorite tune, and they're kind of like, So obviously I'm not cross hemispheric stimulation, both sides going at the same time, scrambling the input. Right. And 2 or 3 minutes, I turned around and went, scale of 1 to 10 now. 2. So what was it before? It was about 6. Do it again, but this time reverse the sides. Right? I says, but this time, don't be poking the side of your head. Start tapping yourself on the nose. And they were like, yeah. So what about now? And they were like, what the hell, it's gone. I thought, this is great.
Yeah.
And then done it again, but went, if imagining something is just as powerful as actually doing it to a certain degree, fires up the same center, same locations in the brain.
Of course it does.
I had somebody imagine doing the intervention.
Yeah.
And it still bloody worked.
Well, this is like, we're talking about anchors the other day. You don't even have to physically put the anchor on. You just, when I used to do the practitioner courses, I'd always pick on somebody to do anchors on one of the students. And there was this girl, and I put anchors, and we collapsed anchors on her knees. And the really powerful anchors was on her right knee. So I said to the guys, the rest of the course was about 7 of them. I said, right, all we have to do now is look at her knee to make her feel good. And she literally covered her knee when she said, don't do that, don't do that. And literally you'd catch her out and just go, and everybody would look, she'd go, stop doing that. And that is how powerful suggestion is, and how powerful.
I mean, to close that off, you know, with the scripts, I've never personally used them. I know people do. They are hit and miss, depending on the client that's coming in. You can tailor them. Yeah. Right. But my tip would be go out and learn all you can about the words your clients use, the metaphors they use, how they see the world. Yeah. You know, also about conditioning and stuff. You don't have to study as much as I did or do, but enough to be able to say, right, I'm starting to see these patterns, but ultimately work with the person, not the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Work with the person.
Bandler said that. He said, problems I don't take seriously, people I do.
Yeah. If you work with a person, sorry, mate, but if you work with a person, you're going to gain a lot more feedback than just, it's a phobia. What's it, a phobia of spiders? Yeah. Is it big? Is it small? Did you see it when you were tiny? Did you experience it? You know, but if you're physically working with a client, you will gather the information of how they got it, when they encountered it, who else was around them. You know, you'll be able to see their state, the words that they use. Do they really want it gone? Or somebody else? Yeah. So ultimately, learn to work with the person. Yeah. You know, and then take that as the basis to be able to move on with, and the rest of it will follow.
Now, one of my questions is going to be about language, but we sort of covered it anyway, Craig, because a lot of people, when they do the practitioner courses, a lot of NLP people don't spend much time looking at the language aspect of the course, so the meta model and the Milton model, because it seems too complex because of the grammar rules and the different types of jargon that we use for language. It puts them off. And yet for me, I mean, Bandler says that the two book Structure of Magic 1 and 2 are really badly written. However, having said that, when you revisit them, they're fantastic books. And you could see the genius of Bandler and Grinder, and I hate to use the word genius, but at the time, they were pretty groundbreaking things they were doing. And I always took the language stuff on board, which I'm glad you mentioned it a lot. So what you're saying is essentially is, you can get trained in this stuff, but consider languages, verbal and non-verbal, as one of the key features of your learning, if you like. You need to go away and study language and the words people use, how they use it, generalize. Even if we just talk about generalizations, deletions and distortions, that's a great start, because the number of hypnotists I've met who have never even heard of that. I said, well, couldn't you hear the client? They just distorted some information. What do you mean by that? I said, well, they were quite clearly generalizing as well. No, they said they've always had a phobia. I said, what, all their lives? Well, I don't know. Have you asked them? Well, what for? I said, well, to find out. Well, they told me it's what you were saying before about people just accepting the client. I've got this phobia on a scale of, can you do the thing? The first thing I say to people is, can you do the thing? What do you mean? Well, you said you've got a phobia of getting on planes. Can you get onto a plane? Well, yeah, I can, but I'm a bit nervous. Oh, okay, that's not a phobia, because a phobia you just don't do. You cannot do it. And it's
I think that's one of the things. I mean, I read a great book. I think I've got it here.
Yeah,
it's called the.
I like your handbag. Is that your handbag on the door?
Oh yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, we're just seeing Craig's handbag. Is that the handbag induction where you hit them with your handbag? I bet that would work.
See, but it all depends on the level of trance, if you believe in that, as to what I put in it to get the induction going.
Good lad.
The Secret Life of Pronouns is a phenomenal book by, I believe, George Pennebaker.
Right.
And with that, he will delve into everything from, like it says, the pronouns that we use, but how we use them, why we use them, when they're most prevalent. Is it within lying? Is it depression? Is it anxiety? But it will cover all angles from day to day to people in high power positions, mentioning no presidents or anybody else, sociopathic tendencies, all this sort of stuff. But it really breaks it down in a way it's fun to read. It's easy to read.
Yeah.
But you'll then start to notice it everywhere. I've got a book called What the F as well by Benjamin Bergen.
Oh, I've heard of that book.
Yeah,
is that about language, is it?
Yeah, it's about the evolution of swear words and how it came into being. There's another book as well which kind of escapes me for the time being. I think I've left it down somewhere. But another one by
like
Benjamin.
me, you've got books all over the house.
Oh, yeah. I think I've got about 5 or 6 next to my table in my chair in the living room.
Well, when I'm doing my live stream on a Wednesday night, the students will say, oh, there's blah, blah. They'll mention something. I'll go, oh, hang on. I've got a book on that. And I literally, and it's always been down to pure luck, I think. I've reached back and gone, there it is. It's like the Frank Farrell. I haven't had that book out for ages, but I sort of knew where it was. I mean, I think we're both on the spectrum, you and me, aren't we?
I think I know because it's just a inside.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Big pile of
those. That's just one. I've got about 3. Yeah, I've got about 3 of those.
Yeah.
And
good.
I think
I like books. I love books.
Another one there it's absolutely jam packed. But
yeah.
I mean, I don't just kind of pick them up and sit there and say, well, I'll just do this.
No,
it is literally a case of some books that I've got, I'll take a snippet from.
Yeah.
Others, I'll sit there and pick it up just for a chapter because I need to expand on something.
Yeah, that's interesting to say that, right? Because somebody asked me, how do I read books? Because I get through a lot of books. I do speed read. I don't think to the level like you do, because I know you've taken that to another level. We'll probably talk about that. But I do speed read and I do scan. And my method is to say, for example, I'll get a book. And the first thing I do is I look at the cover and read the back. I read the inset bits about the author and what the book's about. I have a look at chapters. And even though I might want to read the whole book, which I will eventually, I'll pick a chapter. I'll go, whoa, what's that about? What's that about? What? And I'll go, oh, wow, I'm going to have a look at this. I'm going to read that chapter.
Yeah.
And then I'll go straight to page 180, read that chapter. And then I just sort of work my way backwards and forwards through the book. And then I might eventually read the whole book in one, you know? Yeah. I mean, have you got a method? People might want to know what your method is. Or do you not have one?
Mine is essentially pretty much this. I try not to skip back and forth. If I pick up a book for a specific purpose, for instance, I'm doing a lot of memory work at the minute, so I've got some older books from like the 50s, and I've picked those up specifically for one section of the book, right? Because I've come across the rest online and
okay.
Then I'll get to that. Firstly, I'll speed read it. And I'll go through. Then I'll write down or I'll pick out specific words that I need to pick up and focus more on. So that might be retention, revision, spaced repetition is a good one.
Oh yeah, I use that for language learning.
Or long term. So they're kind of like the four. And then I'll skim through again, just pick out those bits. So now I've gone through it twice. That's starting to stick. And then when I get time, I'll sit down with a brew and I will just go through. But the secret to taking more of it in is being really invested and engaged in what's being written.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you're just doing it for the information purpose, it's a bunch of words.
Yeah.
If you don't understand what a word is, Google it while you sat there, make a note of it. And then for me, because I'm very kind of visual, not so much kinesthetic, but I'm very, very visual. When I read a book, I've seen the author's picture. I might have Googled him and seen him on YouTube. So I now know what he sounds like.
Yeah.
So it's almost, it's literally as if he sat in front of me like you are now.
Yeah.
And he's reading it to me, or we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
And that for me seems to make a hell of a lot more stick when you have to be invested in what you want to read.
It's funny you say that because obviously with the advent of the internet and that, it is easy to get audio tracks of the authors now. And in recent years, I've noticed I've started doing that because I'm like you, I'm very visual. And I can remember pages of text and books. I trained as an actor, so part of it was being able to learn script and see the script in my head, but also having a sense of what you were reading about and having the author speak. A funny thing happened the other night. There's been a series of Alan Bennett plays on TV, and there was an actress doing one of the monologues, right? And I've done Alan Bennett when I was at uni as an actor, and I love Alan Bennett. But and I know what Alan Bennett sounds like. I know what he looks like. And although this actress was reading Alan Bennett's script to the camera, it was Alan Bennett's voice. All I could hear was Alan Bennett. Oh, I always talking with this lovely Yorkshire accent, but she was from down south, so the language patterns didn't quite match. You know the way he talks. But she was like, all right, then I'm doing it with the Cockney accent. But I was like, nah, that doesn't, there was no congruence. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you can't have a Cockney say Alan Bennett's words because I've heard Alan Bennett. And I read a lot of stuff on philosophy at the moment. And I've been listening to a couple of guys online who've written, Doug Bates, who's written a book on skepticism. And I can't get his voice out, but it helps. It actually helps.
I think it's one of those that if you're doing like any sort of memory training or trying to do it doesn't matter if it's memory. I've just thrown that out because there's bloody decks of cards bloody next to me.
I know. I want to talk to you about that in a moment.
Oh God,
that's what I'm getting to.
But it's you can't just sit there and be kind of nonchalant. Yeah, well, I'll pick it up. I've got 5 minutes, but I'd rather be sat there, making a brew and eating an eclair or whatever you want to do. It's you have that. How much fun can I make this? So I've always got I've got this skill now. What do I need to take? Right, this author's telling me he's been there, he's done it, he's demonstrated it, he knows his stuff. right, so if I can take that, listen, pay attention, imagine it, see him doing it, what's in the room, what does it smell like, what does it sound like, is it,
yeah.
it all builds that
Of course it
that
does.
new little world. Because how many times have you picked up a book and all of a sudden 2 hours have gone by because you've loved what the author's saying, or a TV show?
Yeah,
Gone,
absolutely.
because that's where your attention's gone.
Yeah.
You've got to be invested in it, and you have to enjoy what you do. You just have to.
So, because you have invested a lot of time and you do love what you do, and that obviously comes across. And it's very rare to meet people like that, because I don't know what it is. I guess as people get older and get through the educational system, they have the spirit kicked out of them. So I've got a student who I can't name because I've done a lot of NLP stuff with him. He doesn't know that, by the way. He's studying philosophy and semantics at Birmingham. And
he knows now.
He no, because there's about 5 of them on that course, you see. And if he does, he'd love this anyway. He's a really good guy. And what was happening was, I said, why did he get into philosophy and semantics? Such a funny degree to do, for a young lad like from Yorkshire. He definitely knows who it is now. And he said, well, I've always been fascinated by the whole process of language as a kid. A teacher got me into philosophy because we discussed the Greeks and the Indian philosophers and the Egyptians, and you could see him getting excited about it. I said, you haven't been that excited since you've done your degree, have you? And he said, no, I haven't. I said, it's because you're getting a dry academic lecturer just spouting out shit off a board. And he goes, yeah. I said, look, when you go to your lectures, read up on the stuff he's going to be talking about and just let that wash over you. There might be some bits that you need for your exams if that's all you're worried about. But the rest is about passion. And I said, you need to suspend your beliefs, because he was starting to build up a belief pattern that he was very bad at learning, which was wrong. It was complete. You know what I'm talking about. And I didn't do any fancy NLP. I just told him, I did a couple of NLP type things, which were, and you're going to, you know what I'm talking about. They were okay. But, if something you're doing isn't working, you do something else. So I said, have you ever just thought of dropping your beliefs about yourself? And he said, what do you mean? I said, just suspend them. So neither good nor bad. So just suspend them. And he went, oh. I said, take that away and have a think about it. He said, how long for? I thought, oh, there you go. He's asked me for a time frame. Marvelous. I said, as long as you need to, right? And he said, oh. I said, do you want me to give you a time? And he went, yeah, that would be better, Bob. And I said, about 3 hours. And he went, oh. I said, I'll tell you what, exactly 3 hours. I want you to go home tonight, start the clock at 9, and by 12 o'clock, you'll have suspended your beliefs about yourself as a learner. I said, so neither one end of it, and just do, and you'll go back to what you originally had. So all suggestion, as you can hear. And you know exactly what I'm doing. To him, it was just a conversation, which is the way it should be. And the next day, he contacted me. We were actually on a Zoom thing. We were doing a group thing, a meditation group, actually, as it was. And he said, can I stay on at the end and have a quick chat? I went, yeah. He said, oh, he said, it's like I'm back to being 15 again, 16. He said, I got so much work done, Bob. I just started at 9 in the morning. I couldn't put the books down till 5 at night. I went, brilliant. And it's as easy as that, isn't it? It's about asking yourself, why am I reading this book? What and am I going to invest the time?
Well, you've seen what I've been investing in kind of like recently, the last
the memory stuff. That's what I want to get to now. Yeah.
I forget.
You've forgotten about that old chestnut. No, why did you? Right. What? Okay. I think I know why. For the listeners, why did you get into memory techniques? Why not? Okay. Not? Good question. Good answer.
Ultimately, as you know, I mean, I mentioned him at the start. My good friend Ben Cardle.
Yeah.
He does a hell of a lot of stuff. For anybody who doesn't know Ben, he's one of my mentors, but he's also a good friend, and he is as close as you can get to a real life Sherlock Holmes. Hence the T-shirt,
the deductionist and the pipe, and the magnifying glass.
yeah, if you go check out his stuff, feats of memory, literally feats of deduction, all of this. He tells you stuff that there is no physical way that he should know it.
Yeah.
And he does it at a glance, and not asking you 101 questions, but literally like Sherlock Holmes by your appearance and everything else. And the science of deduction. And one of the things that cropped up was Ben was doing a free online course on how to memorize a deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
We thought, all right, one, it's Ben. We know his information's golden anyway because he studied it for years. And we thought it's free.
Yeah.
Why not? And then I realized I've got a ton of books from different memory champions from like the 90s. Dominic O'Brien, who was going around 8 times world memory champion. Harry Lorraine, he was doing it back in the 50s, memorizing up to 1,000 people in an audience.
Yeah.
All this sort of stuff. And I knew some of the techniques. And the kind of ironic thing is, I didn't really apply them when I first got the book. So I went, right. I'll get round to it.
Yeah,
because I was doing stuff. And we done it. And I just thought, do you know what? If I can do a deck of cards, it's only 52 things. That's And then you think, well, it's only 52. But Miller's Law, which came out in 1956, states that there's law of 7 plus or minus 2, which I'm sure everybody's heard.
I don't know whether they will have done. So go on, I'll let you explain 7 plus or minus 2 things.
Right. Your day-to-day natural memory that you're born with is why we chunk phone numbers. So everybody sits there, you'll chunk it different ways. 07942 is always your first one. Everybody can remember the first 5 until you get to the next 6. And then it's kind of like 6744. And then you end up repeating the first lot again, and then the next lot, and then so you chunk in the information. But Miller's Law states that it ends up being the maximum at any given time is 7 numbers, right? 6 letters and 5 words. That's your base memory that you have, that everybody has. Plus or minus 2, obviously a little bit of leeway. You might get as high as 9 if you're lucky. Yeah. You might not. But then it was a case of, although that is the standard for the vast majority of people, if you use varying techniques, that becomes exponentially bigger. So Ben taught us how to look at the cards and give each card, essentially an image. So you've got 52 images.
Okay.
And you can spend as much time as you want doing that, do a week or so. So for me, the ace of clubs will be Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
AC. The 2 of diamonds, will be Barney the dinosaur. Right? And that's the way it works out for the 52.
Okay.
Right. You end up going, each person is now doing an action. So Alice Cooper is playing, because he's famous for playing on a guitar. But then you give it something a bit weird with an object. So Alice Cooper is playing on a snake. So he's there trying to jam out with playing poison and the bloody snakes. So everyone's silly, right? So and it all kind of links in. And I sat there and thought, okay, no, I'll give it a go. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not fast at it. I don't claim to be fast at it, but I can do it. So my memory went from 7 plus or minus 2 to 52.
Yeah.
Well, if I can do 52 cards, I can do 52 things on a shopping list.
Yeah.
Because the way I work it is maybe your listeners, your viewers, they've probably heard of memory palaces. Thrown around. Basically a route. So you know how to go from your house to the local shop. It might be a mile away. Right? So you go to your front door, you place your first item there. It could be a carton of milk. Carton of milk's boring.
Yeah.
You make it life size, pair of arms, its lid's coming off, it's throwing a wobbly, its milk's going everywhere. You see yourself going to the front door, you've got your milk out into your path, and you build your route. So I sat there and thought, well, if I can do this, not only will it be a cool little trick to be able to do, but it also helps boost your day-to-day memory. It helps boost your cognitive function. It helps build your focus and your concentration, because you have to be on it to visualize what you need to.
Yeah.
And it took me about 3 or 4 weeks to get the whole system in place.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks to Ben's tutelage, I memorized my first deck within a week of him having taught us in the class.
Yeah.
But you take that, I've got 160 digits of pi stuck in my head.
I was going to ask you about pi, yeah.
That's a slightly different one, but I was playing around. Well, it's applicable to numbers. It's applicable to objects.
Uh-huh.
It's like today I realized that I had, this chat with you.
Yeah.
So yesterday I placed you in my hallway by the front door. So when I went to walk out with Shadow,
uh-huh.
I knew I was going about 11.
Yeah.
I came back. You're there. You're at the door. You got your Thai boxing kit on. There's a big kind of clock on your wrist, and it's going 12 o'clock, mate. 12 o'clock. Come on, and it's like interview with Bob. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
It comes in handy, and I thought, well, can we do numbers?
Mm.
Yeah, it works for numbers, but because I kept bloody reviewing them with spaced repetition, I've now got 160 digits bouncing around that I don't need because they just stick.
Yeah.
But we've said it's applicable. We'd love to have this being taught in schools.
Oh yeah, I mean it would be a superb tool.
Yeah, we kind of laugh, but it is serious because we say when you're in school, kids are taught, right, you need to learn this. Right? And that's everything from your spellings to your basic mathematics to tying your shoelaces.
Yeah.
You tell a child to keep tying their shoelaces, they're trying, but the minute you go bunny ear, round the tree, down the hole, pull, it sinks in a lot quicker.
It's about having a narrative, isn't it?
Yeah, right. But you're told to learn it, but nobody's taught you how to learn it.
Yeah. Well, I was taught how to I used to do a lot of rock climbing, and back in the day, you'd have a bowline on your loop. Now they've got fancy figure of 8 knots and so on. And I remember learning the bowline. The rabbit comes out you make a hole. The rabbit comes out the hole, goes, and I learned this in the Cubs. It goes round the tree and back down the hole. That's a bowline. And I was demonstrating it to somebody once down in Brecon on a survival weekend thing that I used to do. And he said, I've been trying to learn how to do that for years. I said, well, there's a rabbit hole. Bunny comes out the rabbit hole, goes round the tree and goes back down. He goes, oh, wow, that's brilliant. And it's true. If you give images and stories and, and make something larger than life, like the bottle of milk with a funny hat and wobbling at the door, you're going to remember it. It's got, your brain just goes, oh, I've got to remember that.
Yeah, that's the brilliant thing. I mean, I'm not doing it to sit there. I'm known for, if I say I'm going to do something, I put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
I test it. I went on a plant-based diet I mean, I'm still kind of on it now. But I've done that I've done that in conjunction with training.
Yeah.
Everybody said it was hard. And I went from having a bit of a podge to like 6-pack and all the rest of it in 4.5 months.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, it's doable, and it's that I don't do it to sit there and say, look at me. I do it to say, look, if I can do it, you can do it. You can apply the time, 5 minutes a day. I'm not spending hours every day.
Listen, I'll tell you what you've just done there, right, which is really nice. And you might be aware of it or not. But when we were talking about things and language and how important language is, right, you exemplified that unconsciously because all you've ever said is, I do it, I do it, I do it, I do it. Yeah. Now, my experience, as I'm sure yours is, people always say, well, I'll give it a try. You know that? Not exactly. Thank you very much. Right. Because I'm on to my students, I'm on to friends. I say, look, you're never going to achieve it unless you do it. Either do it or don't do it. But stop hanging around in the middle trying things. And every time you've said, well, I'll go and do it. I'll go and get my cards and I'll do it. And that's a key feature of people who achieve things. They talk in terms of doing it or not doing it. They make a decision.
I say to people now, I'm only a month or so in doing this, and I'm not. If I was putting in countless decks a day and going over it, obviously I'd get faster quicker. Yeah, I don't care about the speed at the moment. I care about the accuracy and the technique.
Yeah.
The speed will come. Yeah, and I'm forever getting but don't you have the what if? I never have. The only thing I have is I will.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
I don't have an I can't. You show me something, I don't sit there and say, oh, I can't do it. I go, let's go. Let's do it.
There's the old NLP thing, you know, when people say, oh, well, it's probably not going to work out anyway. I won't be able to do it. That's when I'll say, what if it does work out? That's a useful time to use a what if.
There's always a what if, always. And
but it's that word but, and, you know, you know what's going to come out of the but shit usually, and try. But
I've never known any different. I mean, from a kid.
Yeah.
Because, you know, my grandfather, he had me building lawnmower motors and stuff when I was like 6.
Yeah, sounds like me dad.
And it was just, it was just an innate thing. And it's a case of, I wouldn't look at him and go, I can't. It'd be like, right, here's what we do.
Yeah.
I started to find the patterns, and then it was like, I really want to do that. It's not, I'd like to try it. It's always, I want to do that. I'm going to learn that.
Yeah.
That's mine. That is mine.
You know, my dad, very strange, but similar sort of experience from my dad. He gave me a carburetor when I was about 8 years old, because I love pulling things apart, because I used to watch my dad fixing cars and engines and motorbikes and things. He was an engineer. I worked on ships, marine engines, and I served an apprenticeship with him, and I saw him doing it as a man as well. And his thing was always, if one man can build it and create it, you can pull it apart and repair it and fix it. That was his attitude to everything. If somebody can think of it, I can also have a look at it. And I remember coming home from school once with binomial theorem, right, from school. And my dad says, oh, what are you doing? I said, binomial theorem. He goes, oh, what's that about then? I mean, he wasn't a maths, he was an engineer, but he had an idea what formulas and maths was, because he used it. But not at a high level. And I said, oh, well, it's a special theory, blah, blah, blah. And he went, where'd that come from then? That was his first question. I'd never thought of that. I just accepted it, took and used it. And he said, you're using it and not knowing where it comes from. You're stupid. And he had me and him pulled it apart. He said, right, that's why they've put that there as part of the formula. That he said, isn't that much more interesting now you know where it came from? Don't just accept things. Don't. Yeah. And I think I was like you with your grandfather. My old man was like that. Question it.
I think that's one of the things that, I mean, that's why I love collaborating with Ben and studying with Ben.
Yeah.
And also Liam as well. You know, I've had the pleasure of coaching Liam. But he's, a really good coach in his own right.
Who's Liam? Liam.
The gentleman's name is Liam O'Neill.
Oh, right. Okay.
He's a coach over in Ireland. Motivational coach, but he does therapy as well. But he does it in a way where now he's working with the person. But he used to do, or he still does, magic, mentalism. He does the old vagabond stuff, with all the kind of like feats of strength and breaking slabs on his. Brilliant guy. So a really good friend of mine. But between Ben and Liam, not one of us ever, no matter what we throw at each other, challenge one. None of us sit there and say, no, I can't. It's always a case of, oh, that sounds fun. Tell you what, guys, I've got a challenge. What is it? 1,000 press-ups in a day.
Let's do this.
Like, and we did. We just went out and smashed it. It was like, in one go. It's like, I'm having a cup of tea, 20 press-ups, or 5 in the kitchen. It's just, just do them.
Oh, you would have laughed. A couple of years ago, my students were like, I was talking about getting them to cut weight for Thai boxing for a show. I said, well, it's easy. You can cut weight if you do it correctly with the correct diet and exercise, but it's mostly diet. And you can do it. It's just, you've got to stop drinking beer, blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, it's not that easy. I said, I bet it is. I was 82 kilos at the time, and I thought, right, I'm going to show them. And in 6 weeks, I lost 10 kilos, right? I was working with some medics, because I do quite a lot of work with medics. And one of the medics, one of the doctors said to me, are you okay? And I said, yeah, you look really gaunt. I said, yeah, I've lost 10 kilos. Have you? How long did that take? I said, 6 weeks. You need to go, you need to see your GP. Yeah. They were concerned. I said, no, it's an approach. I was proving a point. And I got down from 82 to 72 kilos in 6 weeks. Yeah. And it showed my students that, because they use excuses like, because I'm getting older, 23, because I'm getting older, my metabolism's slowing down. I go, hang on a minute, I'm 60.
Yeah.
If anybody's going to have a slow metabolism, allegedly, it's going to be me.
Yeah. And they said that to me when I was coming up to 40.
Yeah.
And I says, you know what? I'm going to try kind of plant-based, see what happens. I'm going to throw myself back into some fitness, but I'm not going to train in the gym. I'm going to train at home.
Uh-huh.
And they were like, nah. I was like, great app, Army Fit. You know, you get it on all your devices. I thought, right, start off day one, some press ups, squats, sit ups, dips. I do your press ups on your knees. Happy days. This is great. And then you build up all time under tension. It's like 3 or 4 seconds down, the same up.
Yeah.
Built up, and all of a sudden it was like, do you know what? I feel fitter after 3 months than I've ever felt in my whole life.
Yeah.
And somebody contacted me recently, and he says, I want to lose about 5 kilos. Says, cut out this, and this. You know, I'm not going to go into diet, but cut out this, and this. Stop doing this. Eat this. This is what you want to do. And in 3 days, he's down just over 9.5 pounds. You know, and he sat there and went, I haven't trained. I haven't done a damn thing. No, but you changed what was going into you.
Exactly.
You know, knowledge is not power. It's not.
No.
The application of the knowledge at the right time, for the right reason, for the right effect is the power. And if you've got it but don't use it, what's the point?
Exactly. So, right, final question, because we've been on over an hour now, which is, I could sit here all day, obviously, but you could as well, probably. What's next? What's next for Craig Galvin? Have you got anything? Have you got something new on the horizon?
At the moment, I can't say it's new, but what I'm currently doing is going through all of the stuff that I'm being taught by Ben and collaborating with Liam as well. Really kind of honing that, because it is a day-to-day thing.
Okay.
But ideally, I'd love to be able to sit there and get something incorporating the skills that myself, Ben, and Liam have, and then putting it into a day-to-day usable package for the general populace.
All right. So
that
product.
They can actually, it would be nice. I personally, I don't usually do products or anything else.
No, I know that.
But we would love to be able to take the skills that we've got and show people that they are capable of a lot more than they give themselves credit for.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I keep saying to people, it's a bit harsh. Look, worst case scenario, you die. Nobody wants to die. There's a lot of shit going around at the minute with COVID and, you know, health issues. I get that. I'm not trying to be unsympathetic. But day to day, worst case scenario, you don't get it right first time. You don't get it right second time. You keep working for it.
Yeah.
But you can then pass that on to your kids. They can pass that on to other kids in schools, you know, and it makes your whole life not easier, because no one's got it easy at the minute. But if you just explore that what if for that potential, you know, I'm wired slightly differently. I go into things full bore. I know everybody's not, but everybody's got the ability to sit there and say, what if? Like, just if I can do, and we'd love to be able to get something together so that, you know, it can improve kids' lives, adults' lives, people in business, basically. And I'm not in it for the money. You know, I do this because I love exploring my limits.
Yeah.
And I love for other people to be able to not explore their limits, but be able to push that little boundary that they've got. So if there's a niggling voice that says, what if? What actually screams louder than the little voice that says, do you know what? This, you know, this could be worth a go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the continuing of basically what I do, continuing to push myself and stick it out there for other people, mate, to be honest. Nothing major in the pipeline.
Are you still seeing clients one-on-ones, or
not with the COVID stuff at the moment?
No.
No, I did, but I've never sat there and went out and charged a great deal of money. I volunteer a hell of a lot of my time for like the armed forces with PTSD and veterans and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that for me is, apart from using any skills I've got with friends and family to be able to help, I think giving back to those sort of things, first responders, armed forces.
Yeah.
If I've got the techniques, it's kind of selfish to keep it to myself. So I enjoy kind of passing it on to those. So Yeah, that's where that lies. And, you know, the odd bit of coaching when somebody pops up and says, hey, I need help. And I go, yeah, rightly so, because I'm a bit shit as well. So if anything that happens, you know, if we can keep learning,
Yeah,
so be it. That's what
I agree totally with that. I mean, you know, the past 3 or 4 months I've been having to reinvent everything I do, because normally I'm in the gym or I'm teaching in the medical school, and now I've had to create a completely new business. But it's not really a business because I'm terrible at business.
but in a way, without this, you wouldn't have found out the platform to be able to learn
this
and
would
all
be
the
the
rest of
gift.
it.
Yeah,
What you're doing. So
I mean, I'm the same as you. You know, this is like, not to sound too cliche, but it's like an opportunity to get started on things I've never done. I've learned to work behind the camera. I've learned to edit and stuff like that. I've learned all about how to put websites together with the help of a friend of mine who's a webmaster. How to put podcasts together, you know, but more importantly than that, read loads of new books and listen to talks on YouTube and spend time on Zoom talking to the likes of you, you know.
It's good. I mean, I know it's not the same for everybody, but a friend of mine sent me one of those memes that goes around and it says, you never knew how antisocial you were until a pandemic hit.
Well, that would go on a t-shirt, that.
And I sat there and I thought, do you know what? You know, I do talk to people, I coach people, I help. But day to day, this to me is nothing new. It's just more opportunity to have more time to be able to do what I love doing and be better prepared for when we obviously come out the other side.
Oh, absolutely.
As they say, shit happens. Roll with it.
Yeah, just go with it. Bloody hell. I totally agree with you, Craig. Well, look, I think we could literally talk for another 3 hours, you and me. But we'd get off the topic. But thanks for jumping on today. Okay.
My pleasure, mate.
And we'll speak soon. Yeah.